Warning, the following communications are not authorized. Please disable your signals and report to your local re-education center immediately. Failure to comply will result in immediate reprimand and capital punishment.
We're back live. We're back here with Eric. We're here with Rob. Let's see if we can get him. He's a blank screen right now. Rob needs to leave and come back in. Always.
Always something.
Always something, Eric. We're going to kick it off right away with the Hunter Biden text, and hopefully Rob can come back in. I see him. Looks like he is. I can't tell. Is he working for you?
Nope, it's black. He was just here, though. I don't know why this is not working.
He was just here. So Hunter Biden, Eric, he's got some great new texts out. They're very impressive. Do you have them pulled up? Because I don't think I'm legally allowed to read them.
Well, first of all, they're old, right? They're not new. They're definitely old. But
well, yeah, you know what I mean. Okay, there we got Rob finally. Rob, how are you?
All right. Can you hear us?
Can you hear us, Rob?
No, I can't hear him. Dude.
He's there somewhere. His connection's just choppy.
Oh, okay. I think we're good now.
All right.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, my bad.
Now we can hear you.
Are we good now?
Yep.
Yes.
Perfect. No,
right. So Rob's from Hewey Media on Instagram. He's got a really fun page there. Go check him out at Hewey Media. And, of course, also on Twitter as well. You'll probably see his name in the link there. Eric, as you mentioned, it's Hunter Biden from, I think, 2018 is actually what they unveiled here. And I don't know. Are you starting to like him more? Are you surprised by any of this?
No.
Before we get you to read them.
I mean, I am looking at him right here, and of course, it's not surprising, right? I mean, the guy's he's a crackhead, right? So I don't think anything should surprise us at this point. And to be honest with you, this should still be the least of his worries. We're talking about a guy who was banging his brother's widow. He was smoking crack. He was. I mean, this for them is actually probably a good thing, right? Like this is like, oh well, you know. We're not worried about it. Hunter Biden's not a racist. And now we're not going to talk about Burisma. I mean, the scandals are like the levels to this is just astonishing. So, I mean, I'm personally not offended by this. I think he's got a lot of bigger problems. I think the entire Biden family is obviously compromised, right? I mean, these people it's a crime family. And here we are just living in this like kind of kangaroo banana republic.
Well, I'm sorry to tell you that this might make him cool in a lot of people's eyes. So he reminds me of Archer, the cartoon character. I don't know if you're familiar. Just the way he speaks.
I do know.
Why don't you go ahead and read this for us? Here's the first text. So this is between him and his lawyer, who is a white guy. I checked.
Which is hilarious too. I think everybody is making that a huge part of the story as well. Is that his white lawyer? It's like, well, does that make it better? I mean, if his lawyer was black, well, we all know that lawyers can't be black because Joe Biden. Look, let's see. There is zero coverage or pick up of the story. Wait, is that part of it? Yeah, okay. They spent a ton of resources on it for a year, blah, blah, blah. Thank you, Michael Cohen. Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's joking around calling him Michael Cohen.
Okay, and then obviously even the word because is misspelled here, which is kind of funny as well. You better not inward. Okay, with the soft A though, you know. So he's not going with the hard R, which I guess to your point does make him a little bit cooler. You know, like maybe kind of like a zoomer, you know. You better not be charging me Hennessy rates. Okay, now maybe for me, perhaps I'm a boomer in this sense because I don't even know what Hennessy rates are. Like,
I'm guessing because Hennessy's an expensive liquor.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I know back in New York we used to say like anything is possible when you were out partying, you know. But this is all very strange to me. And then it goes on. Clever son of a gun. And again, I
ask
think
him why he's so town. Yeah.
Look. I think this, though, is just a distraction. Like I said, so now we're not talking about Burisma. Now you can't talk about inflation. Now you're not going to talk about the border. You're not going to talk about anything. You're just going to talk about text messages from 3 years ago. So it's a distraction. Do I think that these guys are racist? Probably, but not because of this, right? These are like old school racists. I mean, Joe Biden is right, the 94 crime bill and you ain't black and all sorts of things. So I don't think these text messages prove that he's racist. I think a lot of other things prove that they might be a little smidge, if nothing else, racist in the sense of what do they say? The soft bigotry of low expectations, right? So this is just a distraction as far as I'm concerned.
So then they go on to say, they're joking about God loving you unconditionally, and then he says, "Oh my God," N-word. It feels so stupid to even censor yourself for a word, but did you just, I don't know what he's trying to say. Did you just take a fictional character from the imagination of the collective frightened, and my dead brother's unconditional love is what I should rely on? Did you just say a fictional character? And my kids aren't children, Georgie. My parents' love was conditioned. My penis as of late has been unconditional. He goes on with some true dats.
Some true dats.
Yeah. Rob, do you have any opinion left on Hunter Biden at this point?
I mean, this is a guy that, I mean, it was already at, my opinion of him was already at the floor. Like, so pretty much was already, couldn't, can only go up from there after hearing about the Parmesan cheese and everything. So, I mean, nothing surprises me, honestly, with that whole family.
My coworker Dave is a huge fan of the naked Hunter Biden photos where he's like planking across furniture, and this guy was obsessed with taking photos of himself naked. I don't know why, but it doesn't stop there. More of his text about, I guess he was dating a stripper, and he kept her on the payroll of his consulting company while she was pregnant. I don't know why, but here's the title of the article: Hunter Biden in laptop chat, strippers truly love their jobs. And he actually goes on to praise strippers. I talk to strippers. I don't do anything else. Biden says at one point in the conversation, as his companion chuckles, "I've always said they're some of the most fascinating people I've ever met in my life. The most genuine." The chat appeared to occur over a meal, with silverware clinking in the background. Who in the world can say to a woman that they cannot make a choice for the talent that they love? Biden asked rhetorically as the two discussed their career. And there they are, the two lovebirds. There's Hunter. Again, another naked pose for him, and an ex-stripper who I'm not familiar with at all, baby mama London Roberts. You know you're reading a high-quality article when it says baby mama. But more than talent, Hunter continues, it's something that every woman has. It is the ultimate toolkit. And women use it whether they're in the checkout line or whether they're at the club. The audio file ends abruptly as Biden switches off a recording device that he appears to not know was activated, Eric. So not only is he going on this ridiculous rant, he didn't realize he was recording himself, I'm guessing on his laptop, and then, of course, ends up forgetting the laptop.
Yeah, well, he's a crackhead. He kind of reminds me of this is gonna sound awful, like little like Dennis Reynolds, sort of like from It's Always Sunny. He's like, if you're in my house, if you're in my bedroom, you gotta make sure that the camera's always rolling. You know what I mean? He's just kind of obsessed with this, all these nudes, him smoking crack, him with these, underage women as well. The list goes on, and that's why I think that him dropping the N-bomb in a text message is vanilla, bro.
Is this distraction, do you think, Rob? Like, were people really talking about him? I know he's got the weapons charges that sort of disappeared and went nowhere, but what do you think this would be a distraction from?
I really think that, honestly, like, everything with like the politics and two-party system, it's like, look, like, obviously that family, it just speaks for itself with that. But I think it's just to distract us from what's going on with this lockdown and all of that stuff, and just really just, yeah, pretty much with like the the virus stuff going on, and just hear talk about politics. I mean, like, it just like it's a never-ending system.
I think
Eric,
though,
yeah, go ahead.
No. Well, I'm just saying, like, he's right in the sense that, like, it's always going to be something, right? Like last week, it was AOC and Matt Wall. It's always, there's always something that is going to distract you from what's. And I mean, I don't even know what's really happening. I haven't been to the border myself. I don't really know what it looks like. I'm not an economist. I don't know if the economy is going to crash, but I can see these things sort of, showing up, and every single time there's like gossip that basically overshadows it. So it's just another one of those things.
Yeah, I mean, I think that especially up here in Canada, they are ripe for finding things to distract us from right now, because every week they can find something to get people off of why aren't we opening up right now. They're going to do it, and whether it's the grave sites they're having or attacks that are happening, as soon as anything happens, every single politician in the entire country jumps on it and uses it for as long as they can, for better or for worse. And it's a distraction from lockdowns, which is what every party seems to be pushing right now. Speaking of lockdowns and fines and everything, one of my producers, video head at our company, and he's a cameraman, and he's been doing journalism too. He had a super viral video from, I think, 2 weeks ago happened, and I want to play it for you guys. He literally got a ticket for standing outside, and the bylaw officer said it was for shaking hands. Let's take a look.
Provincial offense.
Thank you.
Now this is an administrative penalty notice.
Oh, for what? Yeah.
This is for shaking hands with the public.
No way.
Fail to maintain a distance of at least 2 meters from another person. Section bylaw 21.
So it goes on like that. There's a full video of it. But so what happens is there's a place called Hamilton, west of Toronto, and like less than 10 people go and protest there every Sunday. And so Efron is his name. He goes and he just videotapes them. And usually the bylaw officers all go into the building. They take pictures of people from inside. They conversate, and they come outside and they write everybody tickets. This time they decide to write him a ticket too, just for shaking hands. And there will be more news, Eric, coming up of even more insane charges that one of our reporters got, and it's hilarious, but I don't want to say them. I want to save them because I don't want to trample on an old man's story. That's David Menzies, but he got tickets for some ridiculous stuff that I can't say yet. Is there anything even close to this happen where you're from?
Me, no, I can't. I mean, I had my little stint out in lower Manhattan where we were, detained for protesting the lockdown, but no, it's definitely not this bad. Now, I'm just curious, do you guys have a, maybe like a stand-up politician, right? Like, I mean, obviously nobody here can be trusted, but you got, maybe Matt Gaetz or Marjorie Taylor Greene or somebody who's like standing up against this. Do you guys have that sort of equivalent of maybe somebody who's not on board with this?
Yeah, I can think of 3 people off the top of my head. One is a member of parliament, so he doesn't really have power. He can vote on things. He got kicked out of his party, but you still get to have your seat because you're elected. And then another one is another independent member of provincial parliament, which is a bit lower down. They just talk on provincial matters. So there's those 2, and then there's the leader of what's called the People's Party, Maxime Bernier, and he's super against all this, but he does not have any elected seats. He's basically just a guy who's a politician that leads a party. He used to have a seat, but those are the only 3 I could think of. There might be some smaller town people that I haven't heard of that are against all this stuff, but those people show up to protest. They get shit on by mayors of other cities. I did a video on this. In fact, where the new charges that I'm teasing about happened, it was a protest in a place called Peterborough, and the mayor put out tweets trying to be super cool, being like, "Stay the F home, you guys," and I enraged all the dullards, she said. So she's basically calling her voters, anyone from her own city who protested, an idiot, and all the politicians who went there, idiots. And she's a mayor of a small town. Also a communist. She posted about the International Workers' Day. I gotta get my communist fist in there. International Workers' Day with the fist logo and everything on her Twitter. Meanwhile, she shuts everything down. She makes over $100,000 a year. She gets like car allowances, internet allowances, all this sort of stuff. And I did a video where I asked her to redistribute her wealth, or else she's a fascist. Obviously, Rob, where are you from? Any craziness like this where you are?
I'm in Philly, so honestly, like from what I've seen, like they don't even need to enforce lockdown rules because we enforce it on ourselves. Like it's crazy. Like there's still people. Like I was just outside, like probably like an hour ago, and again, every time I go outside, every single time, there's people riding bikes with face masks on and no helmet. Saw at least 5 of them again today. Was only outside for 15 minutes, and it's just crazy. Like the amount of people that just don't question this. It's pretty insane.
So it's crazy though for me because being in South Dakota, I literally see people on motorcycles that they don't wear. Nobody wears a mask here. You rarely ever see a mask. But you can see, I've seen guys on motorcycles that don't wear helmets. Like, they don't care. People here do not care. I actually kind of love it. So I'm sticking with this for now. We'll see where I end up. But it certainly won't be back in New York because this lady that you're talking about sounds like de Blasio. I mean, de Blasio called New Yorker, de Blasio and Cuomo, they're all, like, they're communists. They're both in this weird state of communism, but they hate each other because it's like a power ego thing. But they totally, I don't want to say they called people stupid, but they had a long list of condescending things that they tried to convince New York. I mean, they're giving people the shot in subway stations, bro. Do you see how disgusting some of those subway stations are? Like, that's for your health? I mean, really think about it. So I guess to your point, there's not anything quite as insane as tickets for shaking hands, but New York wasn't that far off. And then coming here to South Dakota, it's just, it's the closest thing to freedom that I've seen since 2019.
Well, I mentioned that one city of Peterborough, as having that mayor, and she's crazy. But if you go 2 hours west, which is an hour west of Toronto, back to that city of Hamilton where my friend, coworker, got ticketed for shaking hands, that city has a mayor, and I'm not sure if we've covered this, but I did a video on it, and I can bring up the actual city ordinance here, or whatever they want to call it, their plan of action for vaccination, Eric. And you can get vaccinated because you're black first if you'd like. To increase vaccine accessibility to those who are disproportionately impacted by COVID-19, Hamilton Public Services is prioritizing black and other racialized populations / people of color, beginning with those 18 up living in these postal codes. Postal code is a zip code, American scum.
That
well,
just
vaccine supply,
like Tuskegee experiment right there.
Well, it's racist at its core. So they go on to say that nearly half of all the cases in Hamilton, 47%, self-identify as a member of racialized communities, but racialized people only make up less than a quarter. So half the people there that have COVID are non-white, but they only represent 20% of the population. And I made the point of saying is they've had the same mayor for 7 years. If there's a problem here where non-white people are in a situation where they may get sick or worse health care, that's literally your fault. So you're basically blaming the people then, are you not? Because if it's not your fault that the certain demographics in your city are worse off in some manner, as you're suggesting here, therefore they should need to get medical care first, then it's your fault. Am I wrong, Eric? Do you want to sign up for this or what?
No, well, of course, I'm not signing up for any of that, but it makes sense, right? It's just like when if Joe Biden talks about systemic racism, it's like, dude, you've been in politics for 50 years. You are the system. Like, how are we missing this? Who still doesn't understand that? I'm genuinely curious. Like, systemic racism, but Joe, you've been in politics since 1947. Like, you quite literally are the system, and people just, I think Are people waking up? Are people actually waking up? I mean, now with this Lester Holt interview and Kamala, like I always, every single week I say this, that every time something happens, I think it's going to wake people up, but I don't know if it is. I don't know if it isn't.
I think if everybody stayed locked down for like another year, it might. But I think we've reached peak capacity of how many people are going to quote unquote wake up. Eric's favorite term. I think we've reached the peak. It's okay. I'm so sorry. I think we've reached the peak. Rob, what do you think?
Honestly, like, I think that, like, I think there's some people that are waking up, but like, I think this whole thing has been pretty obvious from the start, and like, and even like things will come out like the lab conspiracy, how it came in the beginning it was a conspiracy, and then it like they censored, they blocked, they took down people that talked about that, and then now it comes out that that's very likely the case, and you tell people this, and they still don't care. So like it's like they don't care at all. And then same thing with what's it called? Now with the virus as well, like just or not the virus, hydroxychloroquine. Did you see that thing that just came out with that?
Mm-hmm.
It's and like you show people this, and they just don't care. Like it's just like they still trust these people. They still trust these media companies. They still trust the news and social media to be the arbiter of truth. Like it's crazy, man. It's really crazy stuff.
Yeah, yep, this is really actually quite sad, right?
And this is Yahoo News, so they're right in the Yahoo News is the ones who got the Christopher Steele dossier to have all that stuff treated well by the FBI. So we can trust that they're not going against the grain here. Study shows hydroxychloroquine and zinc treatments increase coronavirus survival rate by almost 3 times. So I believe it's about ventilators. There it goes. The observational study published by I don't even know how you would say that. A medical company found that anti-malarial drug hydroxychloroquine along with zinc could increase the coronavirus survival rate by much as nearly 200% if distributed at higher doses to ventilated patients with severe versions of the illness. So you're on your deathbed, possibly. You're on enough that you're on a ventilator. You can't breathe properly for yourself. And President Trump wants to push this thing. And then the media is like, no, how dangerous of you. We need to take that off the market. Surely that has nothing to do with wanting to sell other things by these companies.
Yeah.
But it turns out that you would have, I guess, tripled your chance, because if your rate is increased by 100%, that's twofold. So at least doubling your chance, Eric, that you're going to survive. And I'm sure a lot of people who maybe saw this floating around after a loved one unfortunately passed might be sort of having some questions. And I mean, there might even be the same sort of questions with ultraviolet therapy. Trump goes on TV, says maybe we can do this stuff. Media says he wants to put bleach in your skin because he said he wants something more disinfected. If you look up UV blood treatment, I believe in the first sentence, and I'll look it up right now, and then you can go, Eric. I believe in the first sentence, it says disinfecting the blood. So go ahead, Eric, what's your reaction to this?
Well, no, just the HCQ thing, right? Obviously, they're still putting notices. If you put on Instagram, it says unauthorized. You know they have all these new little ones. It used to just be like if you said Rona, then you get a notice, and then they moved on to the jab or whatever, the shot to jab. Then they got that one, and then they obviously the missing context. They have all these new little notices like, well, that's unauthorized care. Now, the worst part about this is that, though, in the early part of the virus, right? And to your point, Rob, it was completely see-through at the beginning, right? Like if you were paying even a small bit of attention, it was completely see-through from the very beginning, and that's why this stuff doesn't really surprise us. But like for them to come say like HCQ, it works now, it's like, yeah, well, guys, this is probably an unpopular opinion. I don't think the virus was ever that deadly to begin with. I think all these deaths, I think they're all, completely inflated. I think
the flu disappeared.
That some of the stuff that did happen by bad governors. What's that? Wait. Oh, sorry.
He said the flu disappeared.
Most of the exactly. Okay, so exactly. So this thing wasn't really as deadly as they wanted it to be. And then the whole nursing home scandal, and this is what gets me, is because I absolutely hate Andrew Cuomo, but I believe that two people just walked into a nursing home and it spread like wildfire. I personally think, full tinfoil hat, that something more sinister was going on in there. You want me to believe that one or two old people got put back in a nursing home and killed 15,000 people, or a nurse who had it, a 25-year-old nurse had it and went into the nursing home and killed 11,000 people or whatever it is? I'm just not really buying that, especially after he went on his little tirade, his rant about how he needed more ventilators and stuff. Something's just not adding up. So the point is that, yes, HCQ works, and we knew that, but also on top of it, it just wasn't that deadly to begin with. And it's just scam after scam after scam. So when will it ever end? Will it ever end? I don't know.
So the ultraviolet light therapy is for skin disorders, and the blood irradiation with ultraviolet is for cleaning the blood. So people can argue that Trump said all these stupid things, and it just turned out to be somehow in his brain, he had to say it in a way where, like, it bothered people, or it made him sound like less smart than he is. But most of the time he turned out to be right. So it is what it is, I guess. We can move on to more pressing matters, that being Pride Month right now. Eric really wants us to show what was this, on Nickelodeon? The super creepy thing? Yeah, so let's go ahead and...
because they're doubling down, right? They've gone back, right? It's a little choppy. You're a little right now.
All right, let's go ahead.
They've gone back to back. Am I right? They did the Blues Clues thing, and now this.
This is exciting.
I know, the suspense is killing me.
Every color on the pride flag.
Where's your producer, bro?
Is a symbol in the sky. And I'm out to be me every time that I see.
What's wrong?
Pride flag waving high.
Nothing's wrong. What are you talking about?
Where's the clip?
It's playing.
Rob, do you see the clip?
Yellow means sunlight 'cause you gotta shine bright. Green means nature and we gotta fight to keep our earth a thriving home for life.
I really hope we don't get copyright claimed based on this.
Showing who you are on the inside. Wave that pride flag up high. Be true to you. Happy Pride, everyone! Yeah! Blue means harmony, working together. Purple means spirit, believing you have the power and strength within yourself to do whatever you dream. Baby blue, pink, and white represent transgender people, because every letter in LGBTQ plus is equal. And black and brown represent the queer and trans people of color. Doesn't it just fill you with pride, showing who you are on the inside? Wave that pride flag up high, be true to you. Show your pride, wave those flags, everybody. Here we go. Red light, healing, yellow is sunlight. Green, nature, blue, harmony, purple is spirit. Baby blue, pink, white represent transgender people. And black and brown represent the queer and trans people of color.
Eric's tapping out. He's pressing the button like America's Got Talent. See, the problems I have with that are, well, first of all, why do you need the communist fist in there? That's just been adopted into this thing. Like, a black fist or a fist like that at any point in another time before, like 5 years ago, was a supremacist communist movement. And then also, why does it have to be a drag queen singing this? Of all the people, And towards kids, why does it have to be a drag queen? It can't be anything else. I mean, I don't see drag queen. First of all, plus is not a letter. I'm sorry. The plus symbol is not a letter. Eric, are you as impressed by the singing, or are you horrified by, what it actually is?
This really, okay, this grinds my gears.
Grinds your gears?
Because it's, it's for kids, bro. And like, it just doesn't make sense. And if I'm not mistaken, they did remove the comments from the YouTube video and the supplement, the real supplement that they put onto Instagram. So if they were really behind this ideology and this push, why would they disable the comments? Is it because they know that they would be flooded with people who are not on board with this? I mean, I don't have kids, but I promise you there would be no more Nickelodeon if I had anything to do with it. It's just it's beyond insane, man. Like, there's no and I actually did a poll on my
You're
Instagram
so demoralized
because, well, I'm just genuinely curious which is worse, and I'll ask both of you guys: is it critical race theory or this LGBTQ ideology? Which of these things is more intrusive in your guys' opinion?
What did I say when I messaged you about that? I think I said critical race theory.
Yeah.
Because I think it's probably worse because you're teaching people, instead of trying to teach people to love everybody, which is what all this stuff would say that they're doing. Critical race theory does not attempt to claim that. It's an attempt to claim that people are bad from as soon as they're born. And hate people, or maybe just dislike or think that things are unequal based on skin color, and to be seeking some sort of retribution or some sort of further equality that isn't actually something that's obtainable, because the world is, unless we overthrow the government and get rid of the nuclear family. So I think between the two, I'd have to side with that one being worse, unfortunately. But having said that, all this stuff, I don't think anyone can explain why being a certain gender or having a certain sexual preference is an accomplishment worth celebrating. Now, I get when maybe being gay was illegal, which it still is in some countries that we don't want to talk about, of course, or even if you had the argument for gay marriage, you would still be marching for something. But now it's just a nudity-driven thing that for some reason people bring kids to, pride parades I'm talking about, and somehow BLM, at least in a lot of major cities, has wedged their way in there. I think people later found out because it's the founders are lesbians, but somehow this has all been interwoven to be one. It all comes down to Orange Man bad in the end. I think it all becomes this is anti-conservative, anybody who's against just completely agreeing with us without questioning anything. Which do you think is better, Rob? Or worse, I guess.
Honestly, I just think it's pretty much like comparing poop with vomit. Like, they're both terrible things, to be honest with you. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, like, I'm not against like LGBTQ. Like I'm all for people being happy, having freedom. If you want to marry a dude or two girls marrying, whatever, like, do what makes you happy, but don't push that on kids. Just to echo what Eric said. Yeah, I mean, and then the whole critical race theory thing too. I mean, if anything, that's like, I think that's racism. Like why are we still? It's just crazy to me that the year is 2021 and we're still putting race into every possible subject. It just, like, I don't know about you, but like, none of us, I don't know. Like, I don't think anyone cares as much as the media tries to make it like we care. And again, they'll say, oh, well, you're not black, so you can't speak on it. Like, no, like, as a white person, I don't, like, I literally look at a black person as another person. And then, like, they just, every single thing, just, even if it's irrelevant, they put race into it. Well, like I'll see, like, Mike Tomlin, the coach of the Steelers, like, if he wins a game, they'll say, like, a black coach wins a football game. It's like, why not just say coach wins the game? Like, they just put race in to places where no one gives a shit, and it's getting tiring.
Mm-hmm. And I remember
it's
there
been
being
tiring for a long time.
I remember there being a report about the Dolphins head coach being a black guy. Good coach, by the way. And the report what I was watching was like, could he be the first black coach to take his team to the playoffs? And I was like, so Mike Tomlin just doesn't exist anymore. He got in too early. He became a coach too early, and then he was forgotten about. And then being another black coach, and then you've got I forget his name, big fat guy is also a coach. There's no shortage of black coaches in the NFL. Like, they just don't want to count assistant coaches. They don't want to count coordinators. They don't want to count anything else.
I mean,
they just want
the players are mostly black, right? Like,
you can't say that. That's inappropriate.
Yeah, and that's another funny thing. It's like when they look at like the list of Forbes top CEOs, and they'll be like, well, there's no black people, or like not many black people in this list, so it must be like racism or something like that. And then you go to an NBA game and they're all black, but that's fair. That's fair. It's, you know what I mean? Like, so one goes, but the other one doesn't. It's like they pick and choose where race matters. It's ridiculous.
It is, and that's why I think they're both trying to. They're both trying to conduct this takeover. And to your point, Andrew, we spoke about a couple weeks ago. It's like there are certainly white people who are literally against themselves for this weird reason, right? I mean, and I see it as these things are running parallel. That's why I'm genuinely interested to know what people think is more intrusive, because what they're doing. Remember the whole thing with the pilots, like, oh, we're gonna hire more black and women pilots. It's like, just can you just land the plane, right?
No.
Yeah.
And so they want to take it over. So they already have basketball. Fine, it's all well and good. White boys can't play basketball. We don't care. Get out of here. But we want black people to be CEOs. And it's very similar with the LGBTQ thing. It's like, well, yeah, of course, we got our marriage now, but now we want to make sure that your kids know that, you know what I mean? So it's just like it's always going to be more. They're always going to be pushing for more. And unfortunately, and not even like the super right-wing conservative, but like common sense people have completely lost ground. When I was in college, I'm not that old, but when I was in college, yeah, you had like drag queens, and like people would go out at night to like a drag bar in San Francisco, but those men knew they weren't women, and those days are gone. It's like, yeah, there's drag queens, but like we've gone, like, it's just beyond my comprehension, and I'm still torn. I don't know which ones were. I think I'd actually have to go with the LGBTQ, simply because they want to end the population completely, right? Like that. If you follow their logic to their theory to the logical end, there is no more human race at all, any color, because they all just die off, and they'll be, well,
neutered. The problem is that, yeah, the problem is that the agenda / narrative has all been co-opted. Like, I'm sure it's less than 100 people, and then all these people who are young girls who work in these public relations and marketing departments who said, well, we can't be the only ones who don't change our avatar to a rainbow flag. We can't be the only ones who aren't doing something to support the LGBT community. So it all becomes this thing where they're all copying each other. Nobody's demanding that Bethesda Games or a sports team change their logo. It's only because they don't want to be the last ones. The only people who would be outraged would be women on Twitter, I'm sorry to say, and the men that are in love with them. I've been saying this for a few years now, that a lot of this relies on women who are blue-haired and coming up with these ideas, and then they've got these guys who are so desperate to impress them and be on their side and be like, hey, look, I agree with you, and I'm impressed by what you have to say, that they'll go along with anything. And what ends up happening is these guys end up being the predators. Vice News and all these other places where it turns out that the guys who are the most feminist or claim to be the most feminist end up being the ones that are serially harassing women. Matt Lauer's got his thing. And all these people who end up being for it are the ones that are the ones convicted of these crimes. And then these then these departments BuzzFeed News Canada completely collapses because nobody actually has a clamoring for this stuff. It's just writer A shares writer B, and with their social media reach, it looks like people actually care, but nobody's actually clicking on anything because they don't actually care about it themselves. They just want to look like it. And if I could transition this to the streeters that I did today, which was asking people if they're going to still wear a mask after the government takes the mandate away, which somebody did I'm guessing an online survey. I wouldn't put that much into it, but it was a 2,000 person survey, and 1,500 people in Canada said that they'll keep wearing the mask after the mandate is lifted. And I went to the one of the snobbiest areas in Toronto, and that's where you get your demographic from. It's all young to business age women, so like 20 to 35-year-old women, and they all say, I'm probably going to keep wearing it just to keep myself safe. And I'd say, hey, did you see that Fauci email where he says it doesn't do anything? Because I know that they covet him. And they're just like, well, you know, and to their credit, a lot of them didn't take a strong stance as to why they're wearing it. It's mostly, it makes me feel more comfortable. I feel like it makes me safer, even if it isn't. Some of them were honest enough to say, I know it.
It just worked. The last year of programming just 100% worked.
And some of them are saying, I know it doesn't do anything, but it makes me feel safer. And even my cameraman Lincoln has had this long time theory the last year where he says, especially girls, people like being able to, you know, put on their sunglasses, put on their mask, throw their hoodie up, and they don't have to get dressed. They don't have to speak to anybody. They can just sort of hide. And a couple girls said, yeah, it's just an idea, a way that I can just, you know, sink into the background. And then the guys who are doing it, they're so vehement about it that if you tell them that they're wrong, then they're going to start flipping out. And it's like, really, dude, you're really gonna, as soon as people take off their masks, nobody else is gonna wear it. Nowhere else in the world that's opening up are people, you know, wearing masks in droves. You look at UFC events, you look at soccer events, you look at like the photos and videos of concerts. Nowhere where everybody is allowed to not wear a mask, they're not wearing it. And that's all it's gonna take is a bunch of people not doing it, and everybody else is going to do it. Unfortunately, it's some sort of social pressure that has to work in a different direction, I feel like. I don't know. What do you think about this, Rob? Do you think that, I mean, I don't know, is there a mask mandate where you are? Is it indoor, outdoor?
So I know they took it, or they say if you got the jab, you now no longer have to wear it outdoors. So good news for me, I don't have to wear it anymore, even though I was never wearing it to begin with. But yeah, so also like places, a lot of places now have signs like, if you have it, then you don't need to wear a mask inside. So I just do the thing where I just identify as someone who got it. And then I know a lot of people are playing that way now, because who are they? If I can identify as a female and play women's basketball, then I can identify as someone that got the juice, and I'm safe. We want to play.
Man, I would have been. Yeah, I would have been such a sports star in high school if I could just play on the girls' team.
Dude,
maybe I can identify as that young now.
No, like I was thinking that. I was thinking like, so like this might open up like a new era of people that like guys that aren't good enough to go professional as dudes, but they're like, but they would be dominant in the girls' league. So instead of being a bench warmer in the guys' league, why not just play WNBA and just, you know what I mean? Go that route.
The 13th man on an NBA team who's just some like 6'10", super slow white guy who can sort of rebound. He becomes player of the year listen, Eric, when Chris Anderson was in the NBA dunk competition in like 2006, me and my friend sat there. We were so excited, and then he took like 35 tries to get his dunk done, and we were just like, "That's it. That's the end of us."
Oh, that's the Birdman, right, with the neck tats.
The Birdman. He's a very angry dude. A non-binary middle schooler was stomped on and covered in water in a fight over a pride flag. Eric tells me in his blog on the Washington Post by Katie Shepard. Not sure who she is. When a middle school in Florida offered students the chance to eat lunch outdoors last week to celebrate the end of the year, They broke up into groups. Oh, that's weird. I don't live in a place where they can have school, so this is news to me, including one that hung numerous LGBTQ pride flags from their table. Can't we just call them pride flags instead of the acronym every time? Those flags soon sparked an ugly battle, school admin said, when another group of children snatched one and started to fight. This is what they want. This is what they're going to get. Like 12-year-old Leo Hoffman, who identifies as non-binary, why are you naming the child, was drugged to the ground, stomped on, and covered in water. As at least half a dozen children wrestled over the rainbow-colored flag, said a relative who posted a video of the incident on Twitter. Oh, we're going to have to watch that now. You can't hear it, but they're just screaming right now. First of all, is there an adult videotaping this that's just watching?
I don't know. That's a great question. Look, this part doesn't even matter, right? This is all in the headline, because there is no such thing as a non-binary middle schooler. That does not exist. Who taught that kid that? That's it. I mean, I don't believe this is the Washington Post, right? The Post. You can't believe them. You can't trust them as far as you can throw any of those writers. And I think that particular woman is from Portland, Oregon, if I'm not mistaken. But the point is, you're going to tell me that a 12-year-old, a middle schooler, came out to his parents as non-binary? No way. Those parents need to be held accountable, in my opinion. And the rest of it doesn't even matter. It's all fake. It's just kids. The shoe fits.
Leo was frightened. Leo's father, Ben, told
like
Bay9 not so much for themselves, but for their friends. Leo was very strong and would do anything to protect their friends. We die for that flag in Iwo Jima. Officials first of all, it's not news. It's not news that a kid's being bullied. I'm sorry to tell you. Middle school in Largo, Florida said the students who stole the flag have been suspended, that some would be reassigned to other schools. So they're kicking them out of the school for doing this. Because it's too hard to blame a child for something this stupid. I don't think they should be kicked out of their school, but here I am in a place where you can't even have school. Eric, let's pay some bills. Eric Butler, who's an accredited author on Amazon, and he's got a very noisy microphone, so we're going to mute him right now. Here's Eric's book, New York City 2020, Gotham Unglued, hardcover. I bought it. It's in my background. If you can see it, that's how good of a friend I am. It came pretty quick. I see they changed Amazon's setup a little bit here. It's on the side now, the price instead of there. So always my favorite photo comes up. Guy in garbage bag, and then if we go a little few, do we get, yes, is it a corpse, Rob, or is it tires? Is it garbage? Nobody knows. Of course, Rob is Hewey Media. He's almost at that coveted 10K where he can do swipe ups that everybody wants to do. Makes you cool, makes everybody like you more. Hewey Media, Hewey, and he's sharing all the good stuff. Like this lady who told, I believe they cut off her mic when she started talking. She's going against critical race theory, if I'm not mistaken. So all sorts of updated news. Let's see there you go. CDC to hold an emergency meeting on higher than expected cases of heart inflammation following all things that you can't say. And last but not least, before we get to Eric holding up his book, he looks like Spike Lee with the glasses hiding behind something. My show with Zuby just started airing 20 minutes ago. Zuby should not compete against women. We call it that because he talked about trans in sports. Of course, because of his famous record-setting deadlift for women. We talked about critical race theory as well. And then we talked about British hip-hop, Eric, because I've had so many questions about British hip-hop my entire life, because I think it's been mainly forced, the narrative of British hip-hop. I think they forced the gangsterism of it a bit. So I asked him about that. That's rebelnewsplus.com. There's Eric with his book. We'll get him, even though it sounds like it's raining where he is.
Why is my mic so loud? I don't know, man. You got to tell me earlier.
It's fine when it's fine when you're talking, but when you're not, it just sounds like you're going through a rainstorm. All
right, I got to get the brand new road, the new setup, and all that stuff too.
Listen,
right, we'll upgrade.
It only cost this whole setup that I got here only cost me, I think, $400 Canadian. So that's like $38 American. You could go out in your Celsius weather, drive in kilometers, and I don't know, go to a Target. No, we have Target here. Go to a Safeway, and then pick up your gas at a Texaco, and all this other crap that I don't have to deal with, Eric Butler. Okay, last story. Kamala Harris targets corruption, immigration for her first trip as vice president to Latin America. Now, she's refusing to say that she'll actually go to the border, but she did go to Guatemala and Mexico. And when she was there, Eric, she got met with boos. There were signs that Trump won. There were signs that said, "Go home, Kamala." Tucker Carlson did a whole thing about this for the last couple of days, and it's because people in America actually hate America. It's not the people who want to come to America that hate it. So the Biden administration expected to announce new measures to fight smuggling and trafficking. Yeah, we talked about this a few weeks ago. So they're reinstating, Rob, what Trump took away, which was their tens upon hundreds of millions of dollars to each country in this region to try to prevent, gangs from sending people to the border. The other month, and I'll look it up once I'm done talking, they had a record-setting month for apprehensions at the border, I believe it was. So Trump, during his administration, said, listen, we're going to stop giving you money if you don't stop people at your borders, because obviously if you're from Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador, you can't just walk to America without crossing through other countries. So he said, you don't stop them, no more money. And they went down. And now they're saying the same old thing that they tried for 30 years. And of course, CIA has a role to play in this, but giving them money doesn't just make them stop. They don't just give the money to their people and say, here, live better here, make it better here. Just like when you give money to North Korea, Rob, Kim Jong-un doesn't say, oh, okay. Well, I shouldn't be on screen when I do that impression. He doesn't stop making nuclear bombs is what I'm saying. I wanted to do the South Park impression. Rob, what do you think about this? Is this what's if you're playing devil's advocate, what do you think would be the actual goal here by reinstating all this money?
So it broke up a bit. I didn't hear. What was your question? On my end, it was really laggy.
What do you think would be the argument that somebody who supports Harris or the Biden administration would say here about getting them all this money to fight smuggling and drug trafficking, as it says here? And he's gone.
Is he gone?
Did you hear that?
I don't know. Is he gone? He's frozen.
Why don't you answer that question then, Eric?
Well, I don't know if there's anybody. I mean, truly, I'm not even joking. I don't really even know if there's anybody who actually supports this administration that has the mind, the brain power to make an argument for why this is good. You see what I'm saying? So if you're supporting this administration, that means you're oblivious to all real world issues. So the reason why I think this is not getting enough coverage too is because everybody was talking about how embarrassing she looked, talking to Lester Holt, which is true. She was a complete disaster. Anybody on the left, anybody in New York or San Francisco could tell you that was not a good look for Kamala. But while that was happening, while everybody was talking about her cackling, which is par for the course, nobody really mentioned the fact that Kamala is starting a anti-corruption bill in the whatever they call it, the Northern Triangle or something. It's like, first of all, this woman didn't even win her primary. Nobody likes her. She was, the record of her using prisoners to fight fires in California, all sorts of stuff, destroying the state of California. This woman who has been installed with Joe Biden is now fighting against corruption. It's just par for the course, right? Every single thing that the Democrats accuse anybody else of doing, whether they be independents or Republicans or whatever, they are actually doing. So when she comes out and say, we're going to stop corruption, this is the same woman who, may or may not have sent all of her books to the border.
You can't prove that, Eric.
Same woman who cooked her face on it. Of course, but the point I'm making is they will undoubtedly always accuse. They will always they will project what they're doing onto other people. So she's saying, I'm going to stop corruption, which obviously means they are neck deep corruption.
So here's the last bit here, and we'll see if Rob chime in at any time. Record number of migrants attempted to enter the U.S. in May. Border officials, as I said. This one doesn't have the graph, but there's a huge graph. Trump was seeing record numbers when they first started those caravans, but now, just last month, they finally got to do something about it because they can't stop it. And I guess, Rob, the solution is give them more money. Is that what we should do here? Do you think?
The solution is to give the migrants more money. What was that?
Solution is to give Guatemala and other countries where, gang members and drug traffickers are coming from another whole bunch of money to help stop it, they say.
I don't know. I would say that's not the best thing to do. I don't know.
Well, over 180,000 migrants at the southern border in May, surpassing the record high set in March and April. So they've been setting multiple highs for months and months. And even though they said that Trump was to blame for all of this before, they're just going to blame him no matter what. And I'd like to see what their excuse is going to be. I'd like to see what they're actually going to do to stop them, Eric.
Build that wall.
They are doing that is the thing. They're doing. I just wish that they would just say Trump was right about all this stuff. You don't have to say he was right about everything. He wasn't. But when it comes to the economy and when it comes to the wall and it comes to his immigration policies, he was right about them. And now they're rebuilding the wall because they have, we just said, Eric, 4 consecutive months or 3 or 4 consecutive months of record highs for migrants at the southern border, 180,000, 173,000, 178. So between January and April, 530,000 people have come to the border. That's like
and you'll notice that
that's like 5 cities around me.
Absolutely, and she will. Loads of people have already gotten across to come out and say, "Do not come," because, and I know we're running out of time. We'll talk about it next week. Their goal is to turn Texas blue, because as soon as Texas turns blue, it's over. That's it. So, and it's they're in it for the long play, right? They want these people to get here. They know that the person that just top fence is gonna vote for Kamala Harris in 2024, but that person will have kids, and the Democrats are still, you know what I mean? So this is the long con, and something really should be done about it. But we would just rather talk about Hunter's text messages.
Eric Butler, writer for the Tucker Carlson Tonight Show, I believe, based on what he's saying. What a job that would be. Rob, thanks for joining us. Anything else you want to say before you skedaddle down there in Philly? First of all, Eagles fans, worst people in the world. Philadelphia Flyers fans, worst people in the world. What is it about your city that requires bloodshed and violence out of your sports teams?
Yeah, it is a pretty crazy sports town, I would say. Very passionate, and honestly, if I wasn't from Philly, I would probably hate them as well.
I've heard stories about Eagles fans beating up opposing fans just for being there. Is that true? Does that seem likely?
I mean, I'm a fan of the Eagles, and like a lot of my friends are and everything, and I mean, there are the crazy fans, and then I would never personally, I'm not about that. But yeah, I mean, you definitely have your lunatic fans for sure.
Dude, I spent some time in Philly a couple years ago, like before the virus, 2019, I think, and I went to I think it's a pretty famous sports bar. It was absolutely a great time though. I mean, it was a little touristy, but they were all really nice to me, and I'm not big on the Eagles or the Phillies or any of that. Was it Super Bowl? I don't know. No, it was fall. It was I don't remember why I was there when I was watching, but I did drink a little bit too much. So that neither here nor there.
Well, the thing about that is that you don't have any sports where you are. I'm guessing there's a college state team, and that's all you got. So
No, the
You gotta
closest thing.
choose
What
it.
we have here is Vikings fans. That's the closest thing. Is like we have Minnesota Vikings fans. So
More
but
delusional.
I don't
folk.
subscribe to them. I mean, if anything, I would have to go with the Raiders, which I think they've probably beaten up a couple, like Broncos fans or something, maybe.
Well, they're Vegas now.
The Niners, yeah, they are Vegas now, but the Niners fans notoriously fight themselves. You can Google that. They would brawl in the bathroom and all sorts of weird gang related stuff, but that's for another episode.
We had a New York episode. I don't think we had like an Oakland, San Francisco episode. Maybe that'd be interesting. That's where you got. That's what I told Eric. His new book has got to be pictures of piles of crap in San Francisco.
Yeah,
No,
and I would
read that.
I could get that done in one day. Yeah, exactly. We could get that done in one day. You walk out of the airport.
There it is.
Yep. San Francisco is, yeah. Again, I could don't get me caught with Newsom, because Gavin Newsom, of course, ruined San Francisco. Mayor Ed Lee, the famous Chinatown gangster. I could go on and on and on about San Francisco. So might get to that one day.
Didn't they extend the mask mandate in California again? Like he promised that they would stop at June something, and then it extended
June
it again.
June 15th. Yep. Which
they extended it in.
I mean, these people are complete. Huh?
They extended it in England too. Like they extended their lockdown there. They all got close to saying it's over, and now they're just like, maybe we can squeeze another month or two out of it. All the mask mandates here got extended till September, so you can tell where their minds are at.
It reminds me of that, the thing with the carrot. They just keep hanging the carrot ahead of the person, and then you get there, and then they say, "Up, nope, we're gonna push it back this time," and then they just keep extending the bar and keep extending the bar, and I just don't get how and people say, "Oh, well, you're just conservative." No, I truly even if I was on the left, I would be like, no, this is not okay. I don't get how people it's at the end of the day, it's Stockholm syndrome. It's they literally
Absolutely.
just they enjoy being just abused and just used by the government, and they just at this point, I don't know if it's just if they're just that dumb, or if they just put their heads in the ground and they don't want to see it, because it's right in our faces. You don't have to be a NASA rocket scientist to see it. It's obvious.
NASA's fake. Some of the people
the dollar on the fishing line, that's exactly what it's like.
Yo, do you actually believe that about NASA? Because
no, I think I don't trust NASA. I do think space is real, but I don't trust NASA.
I'm right there with you, dude. I've seen some very shady videos from NASA, just really sketchy stuff, but that might be something for another time. I don't want to. That's a whole other rabbit hole than what
yeah, it is. I was gonna say though that some of the people I talked to today, I think that you could literally just be like, come with us. We're going to a secure facility. It's hotels, and in the back, we're gonna set up a work camp, and you guys can package food for people. You're going to be helping the unemployed. You're going to be helping the homeless. You're going to be doing LGBT initiatives, and it's all paid for. And there's Wi-Fi. You can watch Netflix, and you just live here and work here because it's so dangerous. And we'll just let you know when it's safe to come out. I think that we could get 20% of the people I spoke to sign up for that government program. Because if you have none of these people had end dates for when they stop wearing masks on their own. One person said that they're just going to make it part of their daily life now. Whenever they're sick or whenever they're feeling symptoms, they're going to wear a mask. Doesn't matter if it doesn't actually do what they think it's going to do. It's about feeling safe, you guys. Should we end it there
Insanity.
on love?
Yeah,
absolutely. End on love.
This is insane. Yeah, I mean, I never bought into it. I just want to. Never bought into it. I never wore a mask on the train when I was in New York. It's not happening. So I'll leave.
Never bought into love.
No.
Last words to you, Rob.
Just want to say thank you for having me on. It was a lot of fun. It was cool.
No problem. We'll have you back on when you can give us a swipe up. How about that?
Yeah, but what's it called? Yeah, sorry about the like disconnecting because like this my connection was all choppy in the beginning, and I think I got it this time though. I think I figured it out.
Don't worry, we'll only penalize you 3 social score credits for this.
Oh no.
All right, thanks for watching, everybody. Say it every week. The thousands and thousands of people watching. Next week we'll have special stuff for you. Hopefully that story I told you guys about. Buy Eric's book. Go watch my show, rebelnewsplus.com. Go follow Hewey Media on Instagram. Get him to the 10,000K mark so he can, swipe you up to Hunter Biden's text messages.
There we go. There we go.